Take a nice deep breath in and out. That was it. Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of the Expect Miracles podcast. We have a phenomenal guest today, Dr. Preston Gregory at Momentum Chiropractic in Boiling Springs, South Carolina. Dr. Preston is a phenomenal upper cervical chiropractor and also a phenomenal motivational creator and speaker. It's an honor to have him on the show today. Preston, how are you today?
I'm freaking awesome, man. I think I'm the lucky one being in the presence of greatness. You're the man.
Yeah, Preston, this is actually we've been talking back and forth a while now, probably since January, just on like content creation, upper cervical, all that stuff. This is actually the first time I'm sitting down with you and doing a little bit of a deeper dive on where you come from, what made you choose upper cervical, all that stuff.
Yeah, man. It's been cool.
So Preston, where are you from originally?
Right here. Boiling Springs.
Boiling Springs, South Carolina.
Yep.
Where exactly is that? By the beach, more in
No, it's more the upstate of South Carolina. So most people, when I say Boiling Springs, they have no clue where that is. But most people are familiar with Greenville.
Yes.
Greenville.
Yeah.
So I'm like 30 minutes from Greenville.
Greenville, is that where South Carolina University is?
So South Carolina University is in Columbia.
Columbia.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Clemson University.
Yep.
So Clemson's like 45 minutes from me.
Beautiful. And did you go to chiropractic school in South Carolina too? Sherman?
Yeah, I went to Sherman. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Dude. So
That's why you got that solid foundation.
Exactly, dude. Everything I've done has been right here in my backyard.
So, Preston, tell me a little bit more about growing up. What were you into? How did you even get into the field of chiropractic?
So, growing up, my whole life revolved around sports: baseball, football, wrestling. I love sports. I hated school. If there wasn't girls in sports at school, I probably would have never graduated high school. Never thought in a million years that I would pursue a doctorate degree. Never.
Mm-hmm.
Never even thought about chiropractic. Never grew up with chiropractic. No one in my family went to a chiropractor. Divine intervention, everything fell in place perfectly. So my main focus was working out. I love bodybuilding. I love working out, all that good stuff. I had knee surgery in high school. So my thought was, I'll just be a physical therapist. Seems pretty easy. But I didn't realize how competitive it was.
Yes,
so it's really hard to get in the PT school with a 2.6 GPA. In the mix of being depressed, lost, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life, I hurt my back doing CrossFit. And I was here in Bowling Springs, South Carolina, and at the local CrossFit gym, there was actually students from the local chiropractic school. There was interns. And they were like, why don't you come to the chiropractic school? You can get checked since you're a student. It's $10. And I was like, cool, just get me out of pain.
Yeah.
And it was the typical generic chiropractic experience. Where does it hurt? Let me poke it, your back, blah, blah, blah. And I mean, I didn't really understand it. It wasn't really helping me. I would go on a Monday, feel good. By Wednesday, I was back in pain. And I did this tango for 3 weeks. And here's where the story to me is amazing. This is where like kind of God comes in. 3 weeks after starting care, I was going to message my intern and basically like, bro, we're breaking up. I'm wasting my time. I'm good. He messaged me that morning and said, I'm graduating. I'm transferring to someone else. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll give this person a try. So this person, his name is Rocco Krapis, and he became one of my best friends and mentors, and he was very upper cervically driven. I met this individual, and naturally we hit it off, but the amount of certainty and confidence that this person exuded, I think that's what I bought into. I looked at this person. He was a student. Naturally, students are supposed to be really uncertain. He said, I know your low back is hurting, but the issue is not in your low back. It's in your upper neck. We're going to take very specific x-rays of your upper neck, adjust your upper neck, and it's going to change your whole entire freaking life.
Wow.
I said, okay, sign me up. Well, and it did. Within one adjustment, 80% of the back pain was gone. I thought there was a veil removed. I had more mental clarity. And I think that was a pivotal moment in life where I was searching for something. And that was the opportunity that God gave me. Yeah. And I hit the ground running. And for 6 months, me and this individual met at Starbucks at 5:30 in the morning, and we talked about chiropractic philosophy.
I think I had almost an identical first upper cervical adjustment. And one of the game changers with that was the guy's enthusiasm and confidence that he was going to help me was like, I was like, oh shit, this guy's serious. Like something's going to happen here.
Yeah.
I think that goes a long way with patients.
Oh, the thing is no other chiropractor or chiropractic intern had that. It was very uncertain, like maybe we'll try to move this segment, maybe we'll try to move this. But when I met someone that was upper cervically driven, they knew that this is the issue. This is how we're going to correct it. Here's the proof through thermography and instrumentation that we did get it. You're good. Your life is going to change. And I think that is a component that we could go on a really deep dive. Is there is this fascination and agreement and planting the subconscious belief that they're going to get better, and you have to hold that vibration as a practitioner.
Absolutely. And so after that adjustment, you're like, this is what I have to do going forward.
Not really, honestly, man, because it was weird because I felt phenomenal, and he adjusted me. The following week, naturally, we rechecked. I was holding, and I think I was just hungry. Like my personality is all or nothing. And he said, "Hey, man, I got a book for you. You should order this book, The Law of Attraction." And I
Mm.
was like, okay. I got it. I read it in 48 hours. I came back to the next visit and I was like, dude, that book was phenomenal. Why have no one ever told me these principles that, the energy I put out is what's going to be brought back to me? He was like, yeah, it's pretty cool. Read The Power of the Subconscious Mind. So I read that. Then I read The Power of Positive Thinking. Then I went down this whole rabbit hole of books and Andy Frisell. And I'm like, I used to put so much emphasis on my physical body, but I neglected my
Mm.
mind. But this is the game. You perfect this game and you win the game of life.
Yeah.
And for 6 months, I was just a sponge. I just enjoyed being in his presence because I'm like, this world's pretty freaking cool about being abundant, being a millionaire. And one day getting coffee at Starbucks, he said, why don't you become a chiropractor? And because of all the self-limiting beliefs, I was like, dude, I can't do that. I'm
Right.
not good at school. I'm not smart. I spent 4 years at community college. And I'm
Yep.
like, I'm not qualified. And then I started sitting back saying, well, hell, why not?
Hmm.
Why can't I? And then I met with my advisor that week and realized I was a few classes short. And I said, F it, we're doing it. Burn the
Hmm.
ships, let's do it.
Absolutely. So a lot of people know intuitively that, you change your thoughts, you change your life, but there's such a tango within life. So many thoughts are coming at us. It's very easy to get back in that lower vibrational, your mind, like almost like it's just going. It's very easy to get back in that lower vibrational state. How do you stay up, keep the mind clear, keep those positive thoughts going to keep improving your life?
Well, part of it scientifically, if you want to get into the realm of science, is I'm not very really woo-woo guy. Hey, let's just sit here and think about a Lamborghini, Kevin, and we're going to have it.
Yeah.
The reticular activating system. The reticular activating system is a bundle of neurons at your brainstem, and that's what filters information going to your subconscious mind. And essentially, your reticular activating system is looking for everything to validate your belief system. That's why if you start driving a blue Ford pickup truck, you start seeing them everywhere. They're
Hmm.
not all of a sudden popular. Your subconscious mind is looking for them and actually pinpointing them out. So if you have a negative bias or a negative belief system, your reticular activating system is going to validate those beliefs. It's going to find all of the crappy shit in life to say your life sucks. But if your reticular activating system is rooted in gratitude, I'm blessed, I'm abundant, my life is great, guess what I'm going to be looking for? All of the opportunities instead of obstacles. Plus, I believe we can brainwash ourselves. If we think
Hmm.
about the military, you take an 18-year-old kid and put him through boot camp, and he's a trained warrior, trained killer. Kill, kill, kill. You got to be a tough soldier. He was brainwashed. You can brainwash yourself to be sick. You can brainwash yourself to have anxiety. Oh my goodness, I'm nervous. What if you could brainwash yourself to be positive, happy, and abundant? I tell
Hmm.
myself these conversations so much that I brainwash myself that every single time someone asks me, Preston, how are you? I'm amazing. I'm
Yeah.
freaking awesome. It's reflexive. Most people's reflexive moments in life and reflexive conversations is doom and gloom. Life is hard. Life is shitty. It's become so reflexive for me because I program my subconscious mind that when someone asks me, how are you? Phenomenal.
Yeah. You don't even, it just comes out.
I don't even think about it. I'm
Yeah.
just like, I'm phenomenal. Why are you phenomenal? Well, I'm alive. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. I have goals. I have purpose. So I've taught myself for the last 8 years. Most people can look and see calluses on their hands. I put calluses on my mind, and I've ingrained this shit in my mind for the last 8 years to where now it is, I don't even think about it. It's automated.
Is this something you have to revisit and ground yourself in every day, every morning, or how does that work?
Every morning, dude. I mean, you may get this. Maybe you guys listening may get this. I'm a very driven, motivated person. I just had a business call at 7 a.m. this morning. I'm writing out 6 month, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year, 25 year goals. I feel like I'm immersed in my purpose, but there's a lot of mornings I wake up where I'm just like, dude, I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
And that's just raw reality. But
Yeah.
I always have to step back to where if you're just focused on the day-to-day process, you're going to get caught in the mundane. It's exhausting running a business, having employees, training people, doing Zoom calls, doing podcasts. It's a lot. But I always have to realize, what's the end goal? What's my purpose? If I was going to die tomorrow, how would I live today? And I think when I revisit and think about dying, I think about life as being extremely short. What's the impact I want to have? And at the same time, is how I show up today and how I speak and move, I'm impacting the world. I'm creating a ripple effect. And maybe I meet one person today and they need to see me at my best, because if we're in the game of serving people, I can't afford not to show up. So every morning I have to play this weird game with my head to get fired up. And some mornings it's just kind of organic, it's effortless. And then some mornings I'm like, Preston, let's freaking go. And it's harder than others. I
Absolutely.
just try my best.
It's funny that you mentioned that, and I'm sure you know that I went to chiropractic school with a lot of people for the sole reason they chose chiropractic school was they hear chiropractors make a lot of money. They hear they set their own hours. This is all very enticing to them. But if you don't have a purpose, it becomes a regular job. You get caught in the regular grind. And there is a ton of people I went to chiropractic school with chiropractic degrees that are not doing chiropractic anymore because they didn't know why they were doing it.
100%.
Crazy.
It
Um,
sucks.
yeah.
But I mean, I think that's why what you're doing is so powerful as far as making content, educating people, this podcast. People need to see what's possible, because obviously there's a huge divide within chiropractic, and people don't realize that you can expect miracles. You
Mhm.
can serve very complicated cases, and you can do something so simplistic and create such a profound shift and change lives. And that's where the purpose is. If I was just cracking backs and taking insurance and just hoping people gets better, I would get lost. I would be looking for quick fixes and how do I
Yeah.
make money.
Yeah.
But you and I are rooted in a bigger principle.
Mhm. Now, Preston, mental health is a big part of a lot of the content you make. Where does that come from? I think I saw some video, I mean, about your family too. I don't know exactly if you want to get into that. You
Yeah.
don't have to, but I love things like this. What is people's why?
I mean, I just realized my whole entire life I had it. I had the thing inside of me. It was just buried inside of me. And most often, our limiting beliefs, the conversations, the traumas, our environment, our families, the cards that we were dealt, all of this clutter just suppresses all of our potential, our dreams, and our desires. And it's our job to unravel that. And as a chiropractor, naturally, we can improve the nervous system, we can improve the health of the spine, and people's symptoms in life typically will change. It starts to remove some of that clutter and give them clarity. But you have to do the work. And when you start to dive deep and erase the victim consciousness, reprogram your subconscious mind, and realize that all the shit that you believe about yourself typically isn't true. It's something
Mhm.
that's been projected onto you. Your peers, your family, your mom, your dad, broken people have said things about you that's not truly you. But oftentimes we associate that with who we are. But when you start to unravel that and erase that, you realize that I can do it. I want to do it. And I've seen my whole entire family have so much potential, and that potential's went down the drain because of drugs, chaos, abuse, alcohol. And my
Mhm.
mom, my mom was the greatest mother ever. When I needed her most, she was there. But
Mhm.
she fought demons her whole life. My mom tried to hang herself in the closet when she was 12 years old. My mom got pregnant when she was 15 years old and had my half brother who was handicapped. She had me when she was 18.
Mhm.
When my half brother was 8 years old, he died. So my mom went through a lot of shit early on and
Mhm.
never had the ability to process it. And I'm not against medication. I'm not against the medical route. But my mom was this young single mother that was dealing with all this shit and didn't know what to handle and what to do. What was the solution? Here's a pill from
Mhm.
the Lortabs, Ativan, Adderall, Klonopins. It was all this cocktail remedy to solve a deeper internal problem. And
Mhm.
years and years and years and years of numbing, guess what? You may feel good in the moment, but the pain's still there. And then that led to meth, and that led to suicide.
Mhm.
So my big thing is there's never going to be a right time, ever. There's always going to be an inconvenience. There's always going to be the next thing. So face the shit now. Life is only getting harder. And if you don't know what to do, you don't know how to change your life, you're so embedded in trauma and you're like, I don't know how to break free from this. Ask somebody. Seek out help. It may be hard, but why not live the life of your dreams?
Mhm.
And it's sad. And it's sad that obviously the opiate crisis and everyone's just trying to rely on a medication. The big thing right now that's trendy is Ozempic. Ozempic is the weight loss pill or shot that people's doing. Have you heard of that?
No, I haven't.
It's a weight loss shot. Basically, right now, medical doctors say it's going to be the cure for obesity. You don't have to exercise. It's basically curbing your appetite, and it's a shot. But what is that going to do? You
Yeah.
do no work, you lose weight, but guess what? When you don't have the shot, you haven't instilled the core habits, routines, and identity of a healthy person, and you're going to gain weight. I'm
Yep.
like, I'm not about that. It's like take massive ownership for your life. And I realize that if you don't control this, you're going to allow the world to program it for you, or you're just going to be like, I don't really know what to do. And then you're going to be weak and soft. And it drives me crazy. And I guess it's coming from trauma and pain. But I'm at a point now in my life where like I refuse to be reliant on pills. I refuse to make excuses for my life. And if I want something, I have to go out there and get it. And I think that applies to everyone because I went through a lot of shit in my life. And that shit could define me and be my excuse, or it could be what basically qualifies me and gives me a platform to try to speak and serve others.
Absolutely. And there's something definitely to that pain and suffering. Like you said, you can go one way and stay there, or if you know how to harness it, I feel like it almost brings you to this beautiful level that you can't get to unless you've experienced that pain and suffering.
$100%.
Is that something that you feel, it was awful, the shit you went through, but like the life you're living now wouldn't even be possible if you didn't even have those experiences?
So often we pray for this perfect life. We pray for the perfect marriage. We want to be happy, successful. We don't want any problems. But without the problems, we do not evolve and grow as a human being. And if you look at anyone on a grand scale that's made a massive impact of their life, most often they took the biggest pain point of their life and the thing that should have disqualified them, that's the very thing that qualifies them to make an impact. Because if I just sit here and talk about mental health and talk about mental, yeah, I can be an expert and study it. But when you lived it, when you have personally experienced it, or you've witnessed your family deal with meth and drugs and suicide, you can talk about suicide. You can talk about mental health. That's what
Mhm.
qualifies you. The very thing that you think disqualifies you is the very thing that qualifies you to live your purpose. I wholeheartedly believe that. But as a society, we've been programmed to run away from our insecurities and problems. But when you can run towards it, and I think when you can heal, if you just look at your problems from the same lower vibrational state, it's just a sense of trauma and you're going to get triggered. But when you can revisit the darkest times of your life and actually heal, you can actually go to it with a sense of gratitude and peace and actually pluck the lessons from it. And the lessons that I've accumulated over the past 28 years, every single one of them has came from shitty moments, has come from failing boards, has came from my mom dying, has came from living with friends, has came from my dad being in prison. All of those things have came from hard times.
Mhm. Yeah, man. I just had a thought in my head that I wanted to ask you, but it slipped my mind.
Nice, all good.
But
And that's why I'm so passionate about the mindset thing, because there's a lot of people that just kind of promote this fairy tale, like just be positive. Or
mhm.
I've often seen this: people will share positive quotes, people will share podcast clips, they'll share Bible scripture verses, they'll share uplifting optimistic things, but the very moment they're sharing these words of encouragement, they don't believe it's applicable to their life. So even though they're like, oh yeah, I can do all things through Christ who strengthened me, really?
Yeah.
They share these uplifting things, but they don't really believe it's applicable to their life because they're so stuck. That's where it comes down to doing the work. No different than you doing the reps. That's why you're such a good Blair doctor.
Mm.
You haven't practiced your toggle 10 times. You've done it for the
Yeah.
last 15 years.
Yeah.
That's why you're so good. You have to practice these principles to have a really strong mind and a really healthy life.
Absolutely. And so I remember what I was going to ask you. A lot of people think healing is just physical. Um, do you think upper cervical gave you was kind of able to heal through those emotional traumas? I remember when I was like under upper cervical care for the first 6 months to a year, there'd be days where I was just kind of crying and like bawling my eyes, like emotional releases because the nervous system remembers everything. Was there like an emotional healing that upper cervical helped you or that you had to go through too? Because that can be just as painful and difficult as physical healing.
Yeah, I think it was a total immersion process, because outside of me me passively feeling those emotions and going through the retracing process of being like, oh, that's
Mhm.
weird. Why am I feeling this? I was actually searching for those emotions. So I think the simple fact of having chiropractic and that veil removed and a clear brainstem and my nervous system and body going down to that parasympathetic state and feeling calm for once and actually wanting to heal, it just expedited the process. I mean, there was tons and tons and tons and tons of
Mhm.
journal sessions and crying session. But I do absolutely think that if I wouldn't have had chiropractic, it would not have laid the foundation and the clarity and the receptivity, being receptive to the fact of reading books and wanting to heal and do more and putting emphasis on my brain. Because if not, it was, I mean, I can't say chiropractic's the end all be all, but I
Hmm.
have seen with a lot of people without even me trying to sit down and do this have a therapy session, when the human body feels safe and you unlock the nervous system, innately, intuitively, your body wants to seek peace. Your body wants to thrive and your body wants to unravel all the garbage. And I think it opens up the doors. It just opens up the doors. It's your job to walk through it, but it definitely opens up the doors for peace and healing.
Hmm. Was talking to somebody professionally something that you recommend, or was it just kind of friends, family, everything
Not
else?
really. It's a fine line because it's really hard for me to talk to my family because my family can't take me to where I want to go. So
Hmm.
it's really hard for me to share my vision and my financial goals with my family, and no one in my family's made more than 50,000 a year.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
how are you going to teach me how to become a millionaire and be abundant when the most you made is 50,000 a year?
Hmm.
How are you going to teach me how to heal when you've never healed, when you never read a book? So I didn't really do that with my family a whole lot. The big thing that really got me is talking to people that experienced similar shit as me and actually healed from it.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge proponent of therapy because I think it just can kind of be this whole like kumbaya, let's just talk it
Yeah.
out. Not and nothing
Yeah.
against that.
Yeah.
I really liked talking to Rocco. He was kind of my first mentor
Hmm.
because he lived a very similar life as me. And when
Hmm.
he spoke, it wasn't that he was trying to teach me something that he read in a book.
Yeah.
He was telling me his life. And I'm like, bro, you get me.
Yeah.
Bro, we're the same person from sports to mindset, our identity, not knowing what we want to do, feeling broken. I'm like, you get me. I think the greatest way to help someone heal is relatability. When you can
Hmm.
relate to their story, I think that bridges the gap and that allows them to drop their guard down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, as far as the content and everything you create, I mean, it's one thing to there's there's probably less than five upper cervical chiropractors making continuous content out there right now. What motivates you? Because you're posting a lot, you're making great content. What make motivates you to put yourself out there like that?
Well, I mean, it's if you want to make a lot of money, you got to solve a problem.
Hmm.
And you can't make money if people don't know what problem you're solving.
Hmm.
And the whole thing is, unfortunately, I'm not able to go out to the community a whole lot if I'm stuck in my office. So,
Yeah.
but what better thing to do than use this tool right here?
Yeah.
And honestly, I've always wanted to make content, but I was just winging it. And then I saw your page, and that's why I contacted you because I'm like, damn, you're making some pretty good content. But I realized that people want to be a part of something. People are nosy. People want to creep on you. People want to see who you are and how you move through life. What better way than just to build a page to show people who I am?
Yeah.
Outside of chiropractic content that I can help you with your migraines, I also want people to see who am I? Where do I spend my time? I take ice baths, I read books, I work out. I study things, I have a podcast. I immerse myself in this principle. Like this is me. And what I'm preaching is what I'm living. So
Absolutely.
I think if you're not on social media, you're missing the whole big picture.
Isn't it amazing how people couldn't even do this if they wanted to 20, 30 years ago? You needed some type of, you needed to be on the TV. There was no internet.
Yeah.
They didn't have a platform. I feel so lucky that anybody, if that has a phone, can put themselves out there, advertise themselves, say what they want to say. It's like, it's absolutely mind blowing how many people you can reach these days.
Well, it's almost too easy. And that's
Yeah.
the sad thing about life is it's almost too easy. At our disposal, we have every bit of information and resource that we need to open a business, to change our life, to heal, to learn how to play a piano, whatever we want to learn, it's right here in our pocket. It's so convenient that no one takes advantage of it to where it seems so simple, like, I don't really have the time to make a 10-minute video. But you realize as those 10-minute videos compound, that's evergreen content for people to see your face and hear your voice. That
Yeah.
builds trust.
Yeah.
And I've just like you, I've had so many people come to my office and I'm like, hey, pleasure to meet you. My name's Dr. Preston, yada, yada, yada. How'd you hear about us? I've been following you for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's like for the past 6 months, you've been following me and seeing what I'm posting and seeing if I check the boxes that you should come into my
Yeah.
office.
That's funny you mentioned that because a lot of people that are doing content, it's almost like they want that quick fix, or they'll post 3 videos. Oh, this isn't working. When people will follow you for 6 months, one
Hmm.
year, 2 years, and they will land in your office all that time later because the last video you posted. So people will subscribe to what you're saying, but it takes a little bit to and then they see that one video a year later. You're like, all right, that's it. I got to go see this guy.
Well, I think people don't truly understand how hard it is to make high quality content.
Hmm.
And this is something I'm learning too. If you look at someone that has 5 million subscribers on YouTube, the amount of energy and effort
Oh
that goes into
yeah.
their videos, the budget, their team, their editing. So often we just pick out our phone and make some decent video with a little bit of captions that we took 5 minutes to make and we expect to have a million views. It
Hmm.
doesn't work that way. Like
Yeah.
you have to be very systematic. But I think too, it's so often we're just making content just to talk.
Yeah.
Chiropractic, BJ Palmer, subluxation, yada yada. But it's like, yeah, but you're confusing people. I'm
Mhm.
trying to make my content centered with chiropractic. What problem do I solve? So
Mhm.
when you find my page, you know that these are the problems that I solve and I do a really good job at it.
Mhm.
That's it. Erase the whole like let's just make trendy videos, let's just talk about things. It's like make it very concrete of what is the problem that Kevin and Preston solve. Upper cervical brainstem misalignment, these are all the things it's correlated to. I can help
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And yeah, to go just to touch on what you said before, I think my first couple years in practice, I tried to do a lot of it all by myself, where I was going to do this. And then, you slowly find people and you start inviting them into your life and your inner circle, and they help you get to that next level. I think one of the mistakes I made early on was I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get myself here. Not that I don't need help, but I was burning out. And then you invite these amazing people into your life and they give you these little tips and tricks and you start growing together. It's an amazing thing to see.
100%. And that's the hardest thing, dude. It's the hardest thing for me is delegating.
Hmm.
Because even for you, like you make phenomenal content, you're a phenomenal practitioner, you're very successful, but you're way beyond in the years of practice in the game of business than I am. But it's really hard for me to let go and just start delegating to other people because
Hmm.
being one person doing everything, like you're saying, dude, like it's exhausting at times. It's a lot.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, the one thing that helped me was the one thing I didn't ask myself when I graduated chiropractic school, I was like, I want to be an upper cervical chiropractor. I'll do it anywhere. So I bought a location that I liked, but I didn't love, and it's not necessarily where I wanted to live. So then I had to backtrack and say, how do I go from here to here? And that enabled me to delegate. Like I had to. If I didn't
Yeah.
delegate, I wouldn't be able to go to the second place. And that was tough. Like stepping back, having other doctors in your office, getting the miracles, you want to get in there too. But yeah, it's tough to step back, delegate, but it's for the bigger picture, like we were talking about before.
And it's part of maturing. It's really hard because as a student, you're basically buying into someone's belief and certainty. Because as a student, you haven't seen the miracles. So most students cling to a doctor. There's students that follow
Yeah.
Dr. Kevin and that are adopting your certainty and your miracles. And
Hmm.
then there's just so immersed in the principle and I'm going to change the world and give love, serve, and yada, yada, yada. Then you realize that kind of personality, it's good, but it's not sustainable.
Hmm.
And then you got to fall back to delegating, having people in your corner. You got to have the right systems. So I think it's maturing as not only a doctor, but a business owner, as a leader, and then ultimately, if you're married, a husband, as a father, it's putting all of that together.
Yeah. Yeah. Surrounding yourself with people that want to help you succeed and want the best for you too. Cause as you know, it only takes one person to try to pull you back down again.
100%, dude. I mean, you're absolutely right. I completely agree.
So Preston, where do you see, yourself? I know you got big dreams, big aspirations. What do you want to do in this 5 years, 10 years? Where do you see this going?
For me, it's coaching. That's what I
Yeah.
want to do. Speaking. The goal right now is to get the office up to where it doesn't need me. Right
Hmm.
now, Momentum Chiropractic has been Preston Chiropractic. It's been very personality driven. I started with nothing, no backing. So naturally, I was the face of this office, and that's
And it
great.
had
But
to
if,
be. It had to
Mhm.
be.
Yeah, and it did, and it served me to this point. But what I'm trying to do now is eliminate more of Preston being the face of it and just develop the systems in place.
Hmm.
Meaning, I'm trying to get better management, train more office managers, I'm trying to get a associate in here, a second doctor, and my goal is to work my way out of the office.
Yep.
I want to coach and speak. I realize that when I talk to patients, what I love more sometimes than adjusting is speaking to them, like communication. That's what I love more than anything. But naturally, I still love chiropractic.
Right.
So, it's kind of this up and down, but the end goal is to have this office run itself. I still come in periodically, but I'm out coaching and speaking. That's what I want to do.
Well, I think you already are a great coach and speaker, and I'm excited for that to take fruition and see you do your thing on some big stages.
Well, thank you, man. I mean, I've also looked at it too. It's like people that have the most impact. If you look at Ed Milet, Andy Frisella, these guys that have 2, 3 million followers, they're kind of in the entrepreneur mindset space. That's the influence I want. But
Hmm.
not like you. I mean, you probably have more followers than any other chiropractor that I've ever met, unless it's someone that's just doing Y strap garbage. As far as a,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? As far as
Yeah.
a value driven doctor that's actually
Hmm.
promoting a principle of healing and getting
Hmm.
to the root cause, you have the biggest following that I've seen. The thing
Thanks,
is,
man.
but not many chiropractors are walking around with 2, 3 million followers.
Hmm.
But what if I could create that type of following based on coaching and impact in my story, but still drive chiropractic into it?
Hmm.
Oh, a foundation of my healing, a foundation of my life, the core pillars of how I maintain this level of function is chiropractic. Oh,
Hmm.
well, that makes sense. So I'm trying to kind of build a massive following, leverage my story, my voice, how I move through life, but then along the way, sprinkle in, oh, you should try this.
Yeah, man. Just just one thing I hope you do a little bit more is I didn't know some aspects of your story. And I know we're short form content so tough. You only have a minute to explain
Yeah,
some of that. But dude, you have a phenomenal story that so many people are going to resonate with. I think I heard it. Obviously you can't just keep saying your story, your story, your story, but hell, I could listen to one of those clips every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, man. That's a powerful thing that's just gonna hit some
yeah.
soul chords in people for sure.
Well, it is tough sometimes on social media, to make these 60-second clips that really tie in all the
It's
details
tough.
of everything that you went for. But I truly believe, man, the relatability and the only thing that makes you unique in life is your story. Because if I'm just getting on in front of a camera and talking about mindset and purpose and
Yeah.
discipline and habits, then I'm like everyone else. But if
Yeah.
I can sit there and talk about, I know what it's like in high school to live with a friend because my dad's in prison, my mom's in rehab. Someone may hear that and say, wow. And then someone may hear that and be like, dude, that's my story.
Yeah.
He gets me. He
Yeah.
understands me. And then I feel like that allows people to just drop their guard because everyone's got their guard up. They got
Yeah.
their filter of like, oh, this guy's full of shit.
Yeah.
And then when you show people you're real raw and you've experienced similar things and you have the tools to help them overcome it. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I want to leverage my story because I'm not a pro. I'm not Tony Robbins right now. I'm just a
Yeah.
normal dude trying to do something positive with my life.
Yep. And all those guys have phenomenal stories. I remember the first time I saw Gary V, I was like, oh, shut up. This guy is just so full of himself. And then I heard his story and I'm like, oh shit, this guy is real.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to dismiss motivational content when you don't know where it's coming from. But once you hear where it's coming from, it's like, oh damn. Then
Yeah.
you're in it.
Well, I think you can also decipher too the people that genuinely believe the message they're saying and the people that's putting on a
Yeah.
facade. And I believe the people that's in this motivational realm is the people that's went through a lot of hard shit, and that's why they're so passionate. When Gary Vee talks, he's got a lot of energy. When
Hmm.
Andy Frisella talks, he's got a lot of energy. When Ed Milet speaks, there's a lot of energy there. Tony Robbins, because they went through hard times and trusting these principles and this process, that's what changed their life. And this is what I believe. Honestly, man, reading books changed everything for me.
Yeah. If you can give the audience a couple gems, one or two books that just to kickstart them, what would you say?
So I'm going to explain and then I'm going to give you an answer.
Okay.
I Every book that I've ever read served that season and that version of me. I think so often we're searching for this perfect book, but you realize that every book that you read serves a season of you. And where you're at energetically, that's what you're going to get from the book. Meaning that you could read Think and Grow Rich in January. 6 months later, read it and get something completely different
Yeah.
because you evolved. But I would say fundamentally, the 2 or 3 books that I recommend is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. That's a staple. The Power of Positive Thinking by Dr. Joseph Murphy. It's a really old book. And then last one, if you want to go a little bit deeper, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I would read that one last But if you really start to understand elementary, the power of the subconscious mind, just stories about your mind, then you dive into Think and Grow Rich, and you're reading a book that was written in 1920, but it's so applicable 100 years later. Then you go into the newest work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and you really understand that this isn't just woo-woo manifest. There's science behind your neurons, your brain, your subconscious mind, your reticular activating system, your hypothalamus. Like there's science behind this, and it's powerful that you have the ability to reprogram your brain.
Dude, isn't Dr. Dispenza's story amazing? Nobody even knows he's a chiropractor. Just a
Mm-hmm.
chiropractor from New Jersey. And then, like, I didn't know that until I started reading his books. I'm like, holy shit, it
Yeah.
is possible to do, like, talk to people on those big stages. Doesn't, like, it's just like a
But you know what's fascinating is he's brilliant. This is my belief. He started doing his work because he knew he couldn't make that big of an impact as a chiropractor because people's already going to have this preconceived notion that, oh, you're just a
Mhm.
chiropractor. Most of his underlying principles of what he talks about is chiropractic principles. You know what I mean? The
Mhm.
body's designed to heal itself. There's innate intelligence. There's an organizing wisdom. There's energy. All that's chiropractic. But he's just coined a different term that's more digestible for people to understand.
Great word, digestible for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's great.
But no, I mean,
Um,
but one thing too, I would like to say is I want to turn it back to you a little bit. I really do appreciate and admire what you've done with social media. You know, believe it or not, everyone knows who you are. And I mean,
mhm,
I'm only 18 months in the practice, but what you've created and what you're doing, I meet a lot of students at Sherman
mhm,
from Florida, from all over, and they're always referencing you.
mm.
And I'm sure some of these students reach out to you, but there's a lot of people right here in my backyard that you've never met that know who you are.
That means a lot. I mean, that all started was because I thought my life was over. Brain fog, blurred vision, dizziness, headaches from concussion, and doctors were telling me you're never going to live a normal life again. And then I met Dr. Drew Hall, upper cervical doctor,
Hmm.
and I saw him recording these testimonies of people of getting better, like from the same stuff I was going in. I was like, shit, I wish if I saw this 5 years earlier, this would have saved my life so much sooner. I know it was kind of a blessing that I did suffer for 5 years because, it kind of like those struggles, those tough times we were talking about. But like showing people that this shit actually works was like my mind was blown. And I was like, just doing the actual adjustments not enough. We gotta show some people that this is actually working.
And there's a lot of people that get amazing results in their office. There's a lot of upper cervical practitioners that literally have hundreds of walking testimonies in their town, but it's not displayed. No
Yeah.
one hears it. And I
Hmm.
think where we're transitioning to in the era of social media, I think that needs to be a prerequisite and requirement as an upper cervical doctor. You have to put videos out.
Hmm.
Like if you're not preaching this principle, then that's a disservice. And there's people in your community that's going to suffer because that's a part of the job. We know x-rays and instrumentation, like that's part of what we do as a chiropractor. And so is making content.
Yeah.
Like we have to do that. Like,
And too, people are gonna think that like a fucking Y strap adjustment is upper cervical. Like, like, oh yeah, no, I do upper cervical, it's a Y strap. And those are the videos that are getting hundreds of thousands of views. Like, it's an obligation for us to tell people, listen, that is not upper cervical. There's a better way to do it. I know regular chiropractic didn't work for you. Upper cervical is completely different.
yep. It's frustrating too because on the spectrum of chiropractic, we go from the joint $27, we go from insurance $10 adjustments. There's a chiropractor at a flea market here in my hometown that adjusts people for $15.
Hmm.
Then there's someone like you and I who's doing two, three, $4,000 care plans. So it's like the gap is massive. But
Hmm.
I think there needs to be a consistent standard with all of us upper cervical chiropractors to where society starts to differentiate. Like, oh, okay, this is one of those just kind of generic guys, but this is one of those upper cervical root cause guys.
Yeah.
And they need to know like this is a high ticket price. I'm
Yep.
not in the game of just trying to make tons of money, but with what we do, it's stressful. It's hard trying to find a root cause, being super precise, holding the space for people to heal, taking pre and post x-rays, having instrumentation, having things that hold us to a standard. It's a lot of damn work. And
Yep.
society needs to realize like what we do is up here.
It's funny. I really want to have the guy that owned the CEO from the joint on this podcast just for a business
Oh yeah.
perspective. Just like there's a joint on every corner in the United States right now. What is this guy doing? Do not agree with his chiropractic practice methods, but from a business standpoint, tell me what you're doing, my friend.
Oh,
So
they're
like you
booming.
can learn something from everybody.
Well, it's hard too because ultimately I can't take care of everyone. There has to be other chiropractors here in
Right.
Bowling Springs, but it almost needs to be this like conversation where the joint serves certain people. If
Hmm.
you got just some low back pain and you just need to get a quick fix, cool,
Yeah.
that's okay. But when you start to dive into the realm of complex neurological issues,
Oh yeah.
MS, chronic inflammation, vertigo, that does not serve you.
Yeah.
And I wish it could be that when you walk into the joint with those type of issues, they could say, hey, you have a little bit more stuff going on than what we do here. I'm going to refer you to Dr. Kevin. He can help you.
Yeah. That's true. That's
But I mean,
true.
that's kind of far fetched. But I wish that was kind of the narrative and how we actually took care of people to get results.
Yeah. So, Dr. Preston, at the end of every show, I like to ask all my guests, what is one piece of advice that has really resonated with you over the years that you would like to gift the audience? Could be absolutely anything.
Oh my goodness, dude! I could turn this into a 3-hour segment right here.
I know.
But I'm really big on in the moment. I speak from the heart. I don't rehearse anything. I don't pre-frame anything. I don't read notes. And this literally just hit me. Results rule. There's two R's in life that everyone falls on: reasons and results. Maybe you're listening to this and you've had a lot of reasons why you can't do something. The excuses. I'll start tomorrow. I have kids. Life is tough. It's stressful. I don't have the funds. There's a lot of reasons in life. But when you set aside reasons and go after results and take massive ownership, that's when your life changes. And results rule. If you get phenomenal results in your office, new patients are going to come. When you get phenomenal results in the workplace, you're probably going to get a promotion. When you get phenomenal results individually, internally, physically, mentally, emotionally, you level yourself up as a high value person. You attract better friend groups, you attract better relationships. So let your filter in the chiropractic world, because there's a lot of dangly keys that want your attention and want your money. Results rule.
Mhm.
Outside of what you feel, outside of what feels cool, the Y strap, the adjustment, I have a ring light right here. Whatever it is that feels good, the foundation of chiropractic is results. Whatever gets the best results, that's what I want to do. And I found that to be upper cervical. But in every area of life, you are selling yourself, you're competing. You're not competing with others, you're competing with yourself. Get the best results possible, because when you get high level results, all the things that you hope and wish for fall in line. The goals that I want, the goals that I'm chasing are going to come when I'm able to get the results and I'm able to become the person I need to become. Don't make reasons, don't fall into the reasons, fall into the results.
I love that. Preston, you have a podcast. What is the name of the podcast?
So the podcast is named Unmasking Greatness. So we're on Apple, we're on Spotify. You can find us on there.
And where can people find you on social media?
So social media, if you look up Momentum Chiropractic, period, that's my business office page. And then if you don't want to follow the chiropractic, but just more of the mindset, it's just Dr. Preston Gregory. That's where you can find me on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram.
Awesome. Well, Preston, thank you so much for taking the time out, coming on the show. I would love to have you back on anytime. And hey, man, it was great talking, sitting down with you for the first time, man. You're an
For
awesome
sure,
guy.
bro. Now we just have to meet face to face.
Absolutely. That's
I gotta
coming
come
real
down to
soon.
I gotta come down to
Yeah,
Florida and
yeah.
enjoy some coffee and some warm weather.
Hell yeah. Let's do it.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate you, my man.